Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating piece of history, how two writers, centuries ago, helped basically invent a nation's identity. And get this, they didn't do it with swords or armies, but with something way more powerful: stories.
So let's start with a big question. Can a book really define a nation? Well, back in the super turbulent era of post-Reformation England, the country was in the middle of a major identity crisis. It needed a new story about itself, and two key authors stepped right up to the plate to write it.
You see, this was a period of just immense, earth-shattering change. All the old certainties were kind of gone. People needed new ways to understand not only their place in the big wide world, but who they were as English citizens.
And into this mix step Samuel Purchas and John Foxe. You can think of them as the architects of this new English identity. They gave the country two foundational pillars for what it meant to be English, one looking outward to the rest of the globe, and the other looking inward to its faith and its soul.
Okay, so let's start with our first pillar, Samuel Purchas. This was the guy who basically, through his writing, brought the entire world right to the English reader's doorstep.
Now, what's really important to get is that he wasn't an explorer himself, not at all. He was more like a masterful curator, a collector of incredible stories. He spent his time gathering these first-hand accounts from sailors, traders, and missionaries, the people who were actually out there in these unknown lands.
And his goal? Oh, it was crystal clear. He wanted to completely capture the public's imagination. He filled his books with these amazing tales of triumph and danger from faraway places, and in doing so, he made the whole idea of global exploration popular for the average person.
And man, this guy wrote a lot. His work covered pretty much everything from thrilling travel stories to really deep philosophical journeys. He was tackling history, geography, theology, you name it. He was painting this huge, comprehensive picture of the world for his readers.
The sheer scale of his most famous work was just staggering. We're talking 4 massive volumes, containing more than 100 different accounts of voyages. It basically became the must-have encyclopedia for the age of exploration.
So here's the crucial point, right? Purchas wasn't just telling adventure stories for fun. He was providing a framework, a lens, through which England would see the entire world. And this would go on to shape everything, from its colonial ambitions to how it interacted with native peoples. Okay, so let's move on to our second pillar, John Foxe, and see how this all connects. Because while Purchas was looking outward at the world, Foxe was looking inward. He was helping to define the very soul of this new Protestant England.
You know, he was a historian, sure, but he was also a really powerful propagandist for the Protestant Reformation. And his main tool wasn't complicated arguments. It was stories, unforgettable, often brutal stories of people who had died for their faith.
I mean, just let that sink in for a minute. Second only to the Bible. That's how huge this book was. Most people just called it Foxe's Book of Martyrs, and it was a total cultural phenomenon. You'd find it in churches and homes all across the country. It was absolutely essential reading.
Foxe was a master storyteller. He used incredibly dramatic language, vivid imagery, and in later editions, he even included these intense engravings to create this powerful narrative of Protestant heroism, faith, and ultimately, sacrifice.
And this shows his methods so brilliantly. He basically created a formula, a repeatable story arc. It went something like this. A person is persecuted, they stay true to their faith, they die a heroic death, and boom, they become a national hero. This playbook built a powerful shared memory for the new Church of England.
So you've got these two monumental works, right? How did they come together? How did these two very different books build one single national story?
Well, this table really lays it out perfectly. One book, Purchas's, was mapping the physical world and England's new expanding place in it. The other, Foxe's, was mapping the nation's spiritual world, defining its religious identity and what it stood for.
You could honestly boil it down to this. One gave England a map of the world, and the other gave England a map of its soul. And together, they provided a complete instruction manual for what it meant to be English in this new era. Adventurous, proudly Protestant, and believing you had a special destiny on the world stage. And the legacy of all this? Wow. It's just immense. It's a perfect example of the incredible power of the printed word to literally shape the course of history.
You have to understand, these weren't just dusty old history books collecting facts on a shelf. No way. They were active tools in nation building. They gave English readers a shared past to be proud of and a really compelling vision for their future.
And ultimately, their combined influence created this sense of purpose that wasn't just some abstract idea. It directly fueled the nation's ambitions, everything from exploration to colonization, for centuries to come.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If these books could help build an empire back then, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What modern stories, what media, what narratives are writing the next chapter of our world right now?